Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with Marky Davison, as always. How are you doing, mate?
Well, you always say as always, and then you realise you weren't here last week. So,
you said that's salty.
You're lying to me. You're lying to the audience. All right. It was me and Jeff last week. It's great show.
Mark. I mean, let's let everyone in on a secret of the media industry. I think lies are told very often, right?
Not for me, mate. All right. I'm a truthful, honest guy. I love Matt Canada. I think he's awesome. I think he's a great for our organization. I think Matt Canada is going to take us to the Super Bowl. We're going to win with Kenny Pickett. I think Matt Canada is the truth.
You're triggering. You didn't even make it 1 minute into the show without sending triggers. But we've got some absolute guns in the live chat right now. Daredevil as always, Jennifer Priscilla, Steel Girl 808, Sean Manahan, Cody. It's been a while since we've had Cody. That's the former Shield 91. You remember Cody the first year of
is it really?
Yeah, Cody's Shield 91.
Yeah. He's changing it up too. Change his name.
Listen to us when he does the running. We've got Ryan O'Toole, Reginald Rivers. Man, we've got just a tad early, and we've got a few people back in here. This is great. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing. But obviously, we're a YouTube show that goes on the audio side. So people might listen to us in their own time. I get it. There's heaps of BTSC shows that I listen to audio rather than watch them live. I mean, time zone, you and I have that challenge.
If you are listening, turn the stove off now. You left it on. Oh no, your pancakes are done. They're upset. All right, look out for that car. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Actually, you know what, Mark? Like you did randomly like that before. What town or city or state in the US are we going to give a shout out to this week?
Shout out to you know what, Canton, Ohio, the Hall of Fame. Shout out the Hall of Fame listeners out there for Pittsburgh Steelers who live in Canton, Ohio. Shout out to you guys. Who do you want to shout out?
Please hit us up on Twitter if you are a Steelers fan that lives in Canton, Ohio, because I reckon there's going to be not.
I just thought of another one too. Anyone from the Grand Canyon, like listening to BTSC, shout out to you guys too. If there's is there even housing in the Grand Canyon? Like, is that a thing? So, and
Ryan
shout out
O'Toole
to
says he's gonna make blueberry pancakes for my kid this week.
There you go. Well, listen back to about 2 minutes in, and you get to that part, and then you'd be like, "Oh no, my stove's on," and then run back to it. And also, if you're making a BLT sandwich, shout out to you too.
I don't know. Rivers. Hey, Mark, rake your leaves for making that Matt Canada comment. All right, let's just start there. Let's get it out. I think there's some Steel fans that are good about it, some that aren't. I'm not thrilled about it. Live chat, go nuts. Let's have it out. Therapy session, Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. All right. Let's rather than just ranting, let's do this a bit more methodically.
Let's break it down.
Mark, yeah, let's break it down. Okay, question number 1. Were you surprised by the decision from Matt Canada to stay?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Right. Question number 2. Given you weren't surprised, was there any feeling that you had that he's still going to be replaced?
Honestly, the only feeling I got was by the media speculation about guys like us on the internet saying, "Will he be fired?" That was the only thing. You never heard anything from the organization. You had guys like from other radio stations who live in Pittsburgh saying there could be rumors around there, that there's the hot seat of Matt Canada, which made no sense. The only real rumor or idea or feeling I got that he was going to be gone was because of the media portraying that he was going to be gone, right? But it was never going to happen, never, because Pittsburgh Steelers don't do that stuff. And he did end with a positive record near the end, 4 games in a row. As Jeffrey Benedict also, that podcast was amazing too. I don't know which one it was. His latest cutting room.
Yeah, cutting room floor was a good one.
Yeah, he looked over the stats from the first half and then to the second half, and apparently they were top 10 offense. So it got better. Yes, they weren't scoring points, but when you think about it, and I legit was driving the train or driving the bus, the Fire Matt Canada bus. I was leading the hall right there, and I'm not going to take back my words about saying fire him, but give him a fresh start and see what happens. My only thing now is there's no real excuses for him to use. Like you have a full 9 months, a full offseason with the young offense to get them ready. There's no Big Ben excuses. Oh, they're using Big Ben as that excuse or changing quarterbacks. You know who your quarterback is. You know who your team is. Build around that and just be better. And everyone's getting better into their second and third years. But realistically speaking, when you think about it, it was never going to happen. It was just the rumors of the media saying, could he be fired? Won't he be fired? And then the Steelers go, no, we'll be fine.
So I'm just going to pause before I respond to that. Jeremy Yoder, who does listen to us and appear in the live chat regularly, he's from Canton, Ohio. He's here. There we go. We didn't even have to wait for the audio side on Twitter.
Are you making pancakes? There you go.
But I want to feed off that, what you said about Canada. So, like, I agree with you. I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, I put out on Twitter a silly comment of like, I mean, Twitter is silly, but I just put out a comment of, but he doesn't know what to do with CA3, right? Like, but no, they did improve. I think, you got to think about the rookie quarterback. You've got to think about Najee coming back from injury. You've got to think the whole team gelling back together and getting their proverbial, what together. And so I think in the second half of the season, so to me, it's not a surprise. I would say as well, like, in some ways it makes sense. Now, I'm on the Kenny Pickett bandwagon. I have been since day dot, that. I mean, you can go back and listen to BTSC's coverage of when the pick was announced, and Andrew Wilbar is going, no, because he didn't get Malik Willis. And I'm going, thank God we didn't pick Malik Willis, right? Like, I loved it, right? It was so funny. As, like, the Kenny Pickett thing happened, when Mike Tomlin said, Kenny, what, Pickett. I literally said the same thing live, right? Like, I'm on the Kenny Pickett train, got a jersey, the works. However, now, because Kenny didn't play the full season, right? Now, Mike Tomlin's got a chance to really assess whether Canada and Kenny Pickett can work together. We've only seen Canada, then Canada, Trubisky, then Pickett, Canada figuring it out, properly as the offensive coordinator, this season with big changes in the team. Equally, in many ways, and I don't think this is going to be the case. I do think Pickett's the next guy for us, at least for a decade, whether he wins Super Bowls or not. Or maybe even 5 or 6 years. But he's a long-term quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's say in a world he's not, and he has a really bad second year. Well, if you go, this is not the guy, right? Then maybe you want to change your offensive coordinator as well, right? Like next, in 2024. Equally, with a prepped Pickett, maybe he will deliver and execute the Matt Canada offense even better. Or maybe there's more pieces that Tomlin feels they needed. Maybe they feel like they were 2 or 3 pieces away from perfecting the Canada offense. They had a lot of rookies, like we talked about this on this show. I talked about on War Room. They had a lot of rookies. They've invested high draft picks, but like most of the offense are guys under 27. And like most of the key playmakers in Najee, Freiermuth, Pickens, Pickett, Hayward, and Warren are all guys in their first 2. You've just completed 1 or 2 seasons of their career. It's a young
offense. It's a very young offense.
So I think that like plays into it as well. So I think when you think about Matt Canada, maybe it is fair to give him another year. Now, don't get me wrong. I still stick to what I've said to date. He alone is not going to get Pickett. Let's say Pickett's 70% there. He's not going to get Pickett more than another 10%. It's going to require a really good quarterbacks coach, really, really good talent around him, or a much better offensive coordinator. But at the same time, if we had bought, like, let's say we did bring in a Frank Reich or a Brian Leftwich or whoever, Cliff Kingsbury, imagine the expectation on Pickett next year.
Were we too harsh as a fan base, jumping down Matt Canada's throat too easily? Like I said, I was driving the bus, fire Canada on the outside.
No, I don't think so at all. I think, well, look, hindsight's 2020, right? And context, there's that saying, and then there's the saying about context is everything. And I do agree with Sean Manahan in the live chat. He doesn't see Kenny Pickett wetting the bed in year 2 after his drives against the Raiders and the Ratbirds. But I don't think I think we were harsh enough on Canada because I feel
it was pretty bad at the start. Let's be honest.
There are weapons, and you're in the NFL, right? It's not like college where you play a tough game one week. Usually, there's an easy game on your schedule the next week. It's the NFL and every game counts. And, you know, one game difference, like Kenny doesn't throw the pick against Miami. You've got the tiebreaker there. You know, there's no 3 picks from Trubisky against Baltimore, and there's no missed kick. Like, everything is on such a fine margin in the NFL and that's why we love it, right? And there's 17 games, and it's not like an 82 game or, you know, 100 plus game season in baseball, or 80 game, but, you know, 80 plus games in, you know, the NHL or NBA. You've got 17 games. You've got, you know, 8 of them against your 6 against your division, and, you know, a certain number in your conference. And I just, you have to win them. And that's the problem, is that when push came to shove, Canada's offense this year couldn't win some of those games. And it's really hard because the defense can't bail the Steelers out no matter how good they are every single week. That's not fair. That's not how it works.
Are you sick of saying his name?
Canada?
I am. I'm kind of sick of saying his name.
I kind of am, yeah.
Like, I think we have legit talked about this bloke, you know, for a whole year. And here's the thing too. Do you ever, when you're a kid or when you're watching it, maybe even 10 years ago, did you ever talk about the offensive coordinator that much? I never did.
No, and one could argue that this is where, well, I think as fans, sometimes we go into, you know, a bit of analysis by paralysis. But if we didn't do that, you and I wouldn't be on this show. Listeners wouldn't be listening to this show. We love this stuff. We live and breathe it. And Mark, we've got like 8 months, you know, or whatever it is that we've got.
I'm just kind of sick of saying his name, though. I really am sick of saying his name. We said it all last year. At the start of it, we're like, fire that guy. Near the end, we're like, he got better. But isn't that his job to get better? You know what I mean? To do what
this is true. And think about what Mike Tomlin says about rookies all the time, and about young guys they bring in, and even a guy like Spillane, is that their job is to coach and improve people. So, you know, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I think, you know, Canada trial.
That's awesome. Oh, sorry for audio, guys. Jennifer says I heard him he was called Canada Dry Offense. I like that. Not a bad joke either.
Look, remember I raised on this show, you know, toward the last quarter of the season, that I thought Terrell Austin had been doing an average job, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I thought there were times the defense was completely lacking. Now, Steelers finished, I think they did finish overall with the most interceptions, and that's good from a guy that has a secondary background. And, you know, they started to improve in the sacks down the stretch as TJ Watt got healthy. So they're all positives. But yeah, I think it's going to take a little while. I think two, whatever, by the time this comes out, 2 weeks after we were out the season ends, there's a lot of film. There's a lot of catching things up. There's a lot of different takes people are going to have. Obviously we all react to Canada this week. You know, because that's the news that comes out. But ultimately as well, you know, as I talked about stability before, perhaps you've got all these young guys, Tomlin's sitting there going, look, it's not great, but, you know, this is the guy that they're comfortable with. They've got to have a chance to learn this scheme. We can't have so many young players learn multiple schemes each year. What I will say is, if we have a 1-5 kind of start next year, 1-4.
Yeah. The same.
That's when I'm the biggest Tomlin fan, but that's when I'm gonna, and people sit there, well, he came back from it this year. If you start like 1-4, 1-5, 2-6 next year, then it's out the door. Like, not necessarily for Tomlin, but you gotta make some changes, and quickly. Like, and people say, don't you make a change in mid-season? Well, I don't trust what we saw this year to happen again. I just don't.
But that will come back to, if you start 2-6 like this year, then that will come back to this same point right now, when you made that choice to stay with Canada.
Correct.
And then you have 9 months of training, learning, you know, 9 months of drawing up jet sweeps. You know, how many can you draw up? But I'm like being serious. You're making the choice right now. That does reflect in time, being our record at the very beginning. So they did end well. They end 7-2, and of course it did get better. Like Jeffrey pointed out in his podcast, they were 10th in the offense. They got to score more points. They got to score more points in the red zone, stuff like that. But I think it's one of those things where what we saw on the product of the field was also, we're starting Trubisky. Maybe it was Trubisky too in the system. Maybe it was Big Ben. And it got better with Kenny, right? Because what we saw with Trubisky was like, oh my goodness, how does this happen? It was awful to watch. And that Ravens game where you filled him, we could have won that game. That was a game where you're thinking, hang on, they're moving down the field. The system's working, the offense is working. Then he throws 3 picks. Because we also remember, too, there was one game that they went on a 22-play drive. And we haven't seen that since like 1980-something. Right, the NFL hasn't seen that. We hold the ball for like 11 minutes, and I think we got a TD near the end from the 2-yard line. That's pretty good. As offensive coordinator, you're rubbing your hands together going, oh, man, I did really well then. Got out of there, wasted time, went down the field. I think just the other stuff is like it is from the very beginning, we were like, okay, fire Matt Canada. We can't stand this offense. Nothing's improving. It looks the same every time. And I still bring it back to that pass that Big Ben threw to Najee Harris 2 years ago when it was like 10 yards short. And I'm like, how do you draw that up? Why do you draw up that play for the screen and then got knocked down? So those things I think need to change. But look, I give him hope. But to me now, there is no more excuses. It's pretty much they both made the choice. Yeah. Tomlin did, the Rooneys did. Matt Canada's there. Okay, go and win some games. Go and explore the offense better than what you did last year. You know what I'm saying? Like do something better.
And a lot of the live chat's talking about the O-line, and that's a great segue to where we want to talk to you next. Like you're all on the money, because that's the other thing is now Canada gets a second off season to properly bring in or ask and support the acquisition of players through free agency and the draft of guys that are going to support that offense. And so I think that's very helpful for this as well. That look, ultimately, the Steelers didn't finish 4-13 or 3-14 or 2-15 and even 6-13, right? They did finish 9-8. As I said, I reckon they had 2 or so more wins in them. You can't game plan for TJ Watt to be missing for 7 weeks, right? So, it's not you can't call it a complete dumpster fire. And we have to trust, unfortunately, we have to trust the process. We don't have a choice. We can't fast forward to, the end of next season in the playoffs, right? Like,
can I bring something up that I just found on the old ESPN? What do you think the percentage rate is for their 4th down conversion on offense? It's pretty good. What do you reckon?
Oh, no, they did convert a lot on 4th. 78%.
73%. So they went for 11 for 15. Yeah. So, a lot of people
saying... what's their 3rd down conversion?
3rd down conversion is 44% or 45%.
Do they have a rank of that in the league? Because I reckon that'd be in the bottom.
Hey, you're making me work overtime.
Yeah, go for it, man. You bring up the stats with me. Bring up the stats, man.
I just legit brought up an ESPN like the team stats. You want me to dive into everything? Come on, mate. Easy.
Get the wheel ready. Get the wheel ready.
The wheel of BTSC fortune. That's all I got. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was quite impactful. Like 11 out of 15 for 4th down. That's pretty good.
44% is pretty low, man. I'm gonna find that. That's
45% for the 3rd down, but 4th down is 11 out of 15. So, that's not too bad for me. But
44%.
No,
44% is pretty low.
73%.
Oh, 78 on 4th. Yeah, but that's like 15 attempts.
Yeah, it's good. I'm just saying, give some Tomlinson credit too. He always gets slack about these, not doing the flags, not doing this, not doing that. That's like, that's not too bad. Just give the ball to Derek Watt and you've got a 1st down. Pay the man.
Any other things about the Canada decision that you wanted to cover?
No, I think in a big nutshell, we just knew it was never going to change, didn't we? Like, we've been watching Steelers fans all around the world. We know this team. And they're not going to move on from a guy that has a contract left and actually left with a winning record, and the offense got better near the end. It just wasn't going to happen, right? And also to that point, if it did happen and you brought someone else in and it got worse, imagine Steelers fans then. We would have been absolutely crazy. Would have been throwing that guy out the door before he even got in if it was that bad. So it was never going to happen.
Well, I gotta eat dirt here. I gotta eat humble pie. 44% is top 7 in the league.
There you go. Well, that's not bad, right? So maybe it's not as bad as we think, but mate, I just think sometimes.
And at home on 3rd down, right? They're 49.56%, which is less than 1.5% difference to Cincinnati.
There was a lot of third down.
It's a way that they're bad.
Okay.
Yeah, but fine. But this is the thing though, as Steelers fans. we have been treated to an A, B, and Ben and Hines,
Right.
Ward, and Heath, and right. Like we want 30 points a game.
Yeah.
But if you win, like what if we won 2 more games next year? The margin of like victory and the offensive points scored are barely 2 points more a game, right? And we go to the AFC Championship game. Is anyone going to sit here and blame Canada?
No. We love you, Canada. We love the Great White North. That should be.
But I will just say, anything related to Canada doesn't always work out in Pittsburgh. So hopefully we're not shipping. This.
You're talking about the worst receiver in the NFL ever to exist.
I don't want to bring it up with you. I don't.
I'll bring it up.
Let's get into other observations. I want to get into other observations.
He's my observation. He's the worst receiver I've ever seen in my life, ever. Hands down, Claypool. Worst.
So hit the like button, or your children will grow up to be, Ratbird fans.
We should have sent Claypool to the Bengals or the Ravens or the Browns. We got to
smart enough not to take him, man. Their franchise is on the right. Well, I think
it's a transition. We got the 30-second pick out of him. Since he went over there, they lost every single game. Like what's going on there? They lost every single game. Lost 8 games in a row.
Bad juju.
Well, we need Juju back. But he went over there, and then we get the higher pick now.
We come back. Did you see Juju's comments this week?
No, I didn't.
Apparently, I saw it on Instagram. I didn't have time to confirm anywhere else. Apparently, he said, I played something to the effect of, I played the Chiefs in the playoffs last year for the Steelers, and I prefer to be on this side of the ball.
He prefers to be on a side with Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, it probably makes sense.
Like I prefer to be making double, triple.
That's as most an outlandish comment or as comment of you here. You know what I always find funny? Like I go around the NFL and the Facebook sites, and people are like, guess the Super Bowl predictor, and you're like, okay, and then you see the most common answer is like, Chiefs versus Niners. Like, be outstanding. Choose the Jags. Like that's the exact same comment he's saying. He's like pretty much saying, well, I'd rather be with the Chiefs because I've got Mahomes. They have a great offense. Like. It would be cool to see him back, but maybe we don't need him. Maybe we go and draft someone else.
So he said, it feels good to be on this sideline. It's amazing. Last year it was a tough situation coming in here and playing a great team. Now that I'm here, I'm going into this game and playing against another good team. It just feels good to be on this side of the ball. I mean, this is the thing. He could be talking about it's just good to be in the playoffs. Anyway, whatever. Let that go. Bygones be bygones. Obviously, I don't know if you saw, but Kenny Pickett did a lot of media this week. He had a really good interview with Dale Lawley that does PittsburghSteelers.com. He also appeared on Cam Hayward's podcast, confirming that he's going to go on Ben's podcast, and he also was on Pat McAfee. So he's done that. I've watched all of it. Some interesting takeaways. But before I get into some of those takeaways that I want to get your opinion on, did you see any of those things?
No.
Okay, cool. No, it's cool. It's cool. All right. So first one that I thought was interesting, at the end of Pat McAfee, the interview there, Chuck Pagano was on, he's regularly on Pat McAfee's show, obviously ex-defensive coordinator of Baltimore Ravens, coach of, the Indianapolis Colts. They lost the Steelers a bunch of times when he was there. It was interesting because Kenny talked about how Tomlin started bringing him into the staff meetings, and other key meetings. Once he became 2 or 3 weeks after he became starter. So Kenny said he was getting the information on the defense that they were going up against each week 3 times before the rest of the offense got it. He got to hear it 3 times. And Chuck Pagano said, this is something usually for a veteran. He said, I've never heard of a rook, and that's a direct quote, being part of that. And he said, Tomlin must just trust him. That is epic. I thought that was really cool.
That would remind me of? That would remind me of if I was working at the club, which I used to do, right? And one of the bartenders who I work with would be like, do you want to know where the secret stash is? And you're like, well, what's going on? And then you go, well, where do you guys hide this stuff? They would show the secret lollies. That's what it's up. You know what I mean? They would show you where the veteran staff who work there would show you the chocolate. That probably has no correlation at all, but that's what's happened to me because I was a good worker when my first time. Like, hey, by the way, we sit here on our breaks. Why do you sit over there for? Because there's secret lollies around the corner.
Fair enough. I'm just stirring you up. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So that's take number 1. That's pretty cool. Take number 2, man, he's talked up drafting Jordan Addison.
I heard this one. I heard this one.
So I talked about on War Room, and I know you listened to it this week. I did a bit of consider cut. And I considered a trade for Deontay because you don't have to actually eat that much cap. You know, Jordan Addison's also falling in the draft. There's teams that might want Deontay. I don't think they're going to trade Deontay, but I'm just saying, like, you got Addison. I mean, you want a veteran in there anyway. I don't think Addison's the first point of call. Look, I wouldn't hate it, but they better be sure about it because I don't think Jordan Addison's, Jamar Chase.
You know what, man? I trust them. I trust them what they did last year in the draft. So whatever they do, I trust them. Like, look at the draft last year.
Round one, a wide receiver? Really?
I don't know, man. Well, we said that with Najee. We said that with Kenny Pickett. We said that with, the move stuff. And drafting wise, I think they've done pretty well over the last few years. So if it happens, even in my Madden franchise that I'm playing at the moment, I went the second year and I drafted Jordan Addison just to see what's going on. But I made a mistake. I kept like 6 receivers, and they're all like, I got Sims in there, I got Boykin, I got Austin, I got Deontay, I got Pickens. It's too many receivers, too many people. So I don't know. Look, I actually don't think they're going to trade Deontay anyway. I think it's another one that's getting hyped up a lot about trading Deontay, but I think they'll keep him. I think he is the veteran guy in the locker room. Pickens could be number 1, but he can be veteran. If they were to get him at 17, I would welcome it, man. That's 5 years working. That's 5 years working with Kenny Pickett, and the offensive line I think got better, and we might see the same starting 5 next year.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. The other thing Kenny talked about a little bit about is like that maturity and wanting to get bigger, which I think is interesting about wanting to get bigger in size and muscle and stuff, particularly because you saw how many times you saw him barging through the line on the QB sneaks to get them another down or to get them a touchdown. So I like that. It sounds like he wants to do more and scramble and be physical, and he's sort of seen the speed of the NFL now. It's kind of interesting. And as Rhino Talk brings up in the live chat, Steelers are like wide receiver whisperers. We can bring guys in. Yeah, like I really like Zay Flowers. I think he's a little bit later in the draft. I think that could be pretty cool. I do want to bring up Sean Manahan, who had me cracking up in the background that we drafted a nose tackle with the 32nd pick in the draft. I think a linebacker might be where they go 32. But so I thought it was just interesting with these Kenny Pickett comments. It was interesting to see the dynamic between him and Cameron Hayward as well, where Cameron was, Hayward was talking about how he, gives him a bit of flack because he is a rookie. He got asked to comment on all the different offensive guys that he plays with. Pickens, he very clearly said Pickens is my guy. He talked about like Hayward being his guy. He talked about how he had to learn to work with Deontay. But for all of, he sort of suggested that for all of Deontay's detractors out there, he's like, no one does the quick footwork and the shifting like Deontay does.
Are they going to get rid of Deontay? I don't think they will.
I don't think they will. I think he'll have to perform in the coming. I think 2023 is a big year for Deontay. 2023 is a massive year for Deontay.
I think he stays, man. I think he'll stay into next year. I think. Look, he does get a lot of flack, but I think he's a pretty good receiver. His route running is amazing. Like that game against Carolina was 10 out of 10, 93 yards. Amazing. So he can always get better. He didn't score a TD this year, but fair enough. They can get better. So.
And then I wanted to flip away from that. I had a whole list of questions I wrote for this show for you today. So
yeah, right.
So it's kind of like 20 questions. On the defensive side, because I feel like no one's talking about defense right now. In the War Room show that I did this week on Keep, Consider, Cut, I talked about Robert Spillane and bringing him back and what you've got to bring him back on. I'll just ask straight up. I don't know whether you remember the number I gave. It was about 3.2 to 3.4 million on a 2-year deal. Would you pay Robert Spillane that? It's about an $800,000 upgrade a year on what he's on right now.
Yeah, I think he's coming back. I think Devin Bush is gone. I think you talked about Miles Jack is the big one they need to consider. What's going to happen there at that position?
Yeah,
I believe Spillane will be one of the 2 linebackers there. They liked him near the end. They're probably going to start with him and then rotate in Robinson. But it all depends on the scheme as well. Like in the last 2 games, they versed run-heavy teams in the Raiders and Ravens, and even the defensive coordinator Austin said, "You know what? We play different schemes, so we didn't need Devin Bush. We needed thumpers like Robinson, and we needed thumpers like Spillane." And that kind of worked out in that way just near the end. And the Browns are run heavy team, Ravens run heavy. Raiders are run heavy, so that just kind of happened that way, right? But I would probably see that Devin Bush is probably gone. I think he's gone for sure. And then you need a middle linebacker, and what better way to give Spillane the hat there? But if they were to make moves, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, he's still a guy that is a backup, middle linebacker, or comes in every now and then. So, and yeah, Edmonds, like you said, imagine bringing Edmonds in. Tremaine Edmonds, that'd be fantastic. Are you there? Am I frozen? Hello.
You're back.
Are you there, Matty? Am I frozen?
Back.
Oh, my bad. Must be my internet.
No, I'm frozen. It's my internet. It's my internet. It's dropping in and out. Can you hear me?
Jeff came in and then he stuffed it all up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. When Jeff came in and everything stuffed up, it's because he got the.
Well, Jeff, I was talking about behind the bonus.
Jeff's got the team going 3-14. Do you know that?
Next year.
Yeah, 3-14. This guy, Jeff Benedict from behind the steel curtain. Hashtag Fan and Skippy, I think his name is on Twitter. He's 3-14. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I had him as like that was. I was talking about base salary. I think I gave him like a 700 or 900 grand bonus. Actually, I can find it. I've got it written down in my notes. I gave him a Spilly. Yeah, I gave him 3.2 in the first year, 3.6 in the second, 700K bonus.
That was on the show last week. He said the Steelers are an awful team, that Matt Canada is the worst offensive coordinator ever. And these are his words, by the way. And he said that Pickett is the worst draft pick since Artie Burns. And he said, you know what? They're going to go 3-14. But I didn't say it. He said it. He said it.
Yeah, well, that's it. But yeah, that's what I had for Spillane. But also, people got to remember Spillane's, cracking up on 30 now. So, you don't.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's like 28. I think he's 29 by the season start. So I underpaid. I did a bit of the Kevin Colbert. They're getting to 30. That's it. Right. And I can say that as someone who's over 30, I know how the body feels. So,
yeah, I'm 33 now. And it's like, it's a bit different. After I played pickleball the other day, 14 games in a row, and I was pretty spent. You know what I mean? I was pretty done.
All right. Can you bring up the Wheel of Fortune?
You just put me on the spot. Yeah.
When you bring up the wheel.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do?
Can you just do AFC teams, or was that too
hard? It said in my Google thing, it said resume my journey. What a weird thing to say.
Resume your journey with the.
That's what it said for the Wheel of Fortune. It said resume the journey.
So for the last 8 minutes of the show, I want to bring up the wheel. All
right, ask me questions. What does the wheel want to know?
Have you only got AFC teams, or have you got?
I got all the teams, every single NFL team.
All right, spin the wheel. Spin the wheel.
Yep.
Will this team, or is this team likely to have a better offseason than the Steelers?
The New England Patriots is on the wheel. I don't think so. The New England Patriots, what do you think?
Nah, they're a mess. They're an absolute mess.
They're a big mess. There's no way
they got real problems. I mean, quarterback, they don't know what. Yeah.
What's the question again? I'll do the same question. That was a good question.
The question was, is this team likely to have a better offseason than the Steelers based on what we've seen from the first 2 weeks?
So you're judging by draft,
free agency, how they set up, how they finish the season.
Okay, no. The New England Patriots aren't doing that. All right, let's do another team. So that question with another team, the wheel spinning. Oh my goodness. It's going to be Falcons.
Well, they got a lot of improvement that can be made. So you could argue they'll have a better offseason there. Maybe if they sign Lamar Jackson, they have a really good offseason.
They might win the offseason, but I just don't think they're a team for a threat in any case, like at all.
The real big Bill Belichick tried to stand up, but Tom Brady wasn't there to support him and fell over. I saw a stat this week that Tom Brady had the same number of TDs, the interceptions, like as Ben last season or something like. I'm going to pull that up. I saw that like yesterday. Came and did the social media rounds, but that's ridiculous. Like,
did you see his last game against in the playoffs? It's pretty bad.
I was watching kind of the updates as they came through, and I was like, "Eek, this isn't going well."
It was pretty much like, "Yo, give it up, stop playing. Like, time is time, man. You're too old to be playing football now."
And he sacrificed his marriage for it.
45 years old is like, just give it up. Like the throws were not there. The mobility wasn't there. Nothing was there. Like it was just like, give it up, mate.
Get that.
I just want to see, like, we've been watching since 2000. I've been watching since 2001. Like, just give it up. Like, I'm sick of seeing you in the NFL. Like, Tom Brady, go away.
Yeah, so Ben had 22 TDs to 10 interceptions, and Tom Brady had what was this? Wasn't it doing it? 25 to 9. There you go. But I mean, yeah. Ben would have had 25 with George Pickens there. So yeah. Like interesting. All right, we got the wheel in front of you again.
Yeah, mate. What's the question?
We need to fix it. We need to get like the AFC ones. All right, got the wheel. Looking back, which team did this team have a better draft than the Steelers?
Buffalo Bills. Did they have a better draft?
No way. Because they needed real fixes at corner, at running back. I don't think they got those guys compared to what the Steelers got in Pickett, Hayward. I mean, Warren was undrafted, but you can throw him in there from a rookie class perspective. No way. Absolutely no way.
I think that the Steelers had a great draft. That's being biased, but I think they hit a lot of needs. A lot of players can step up. So I think Connor was good. I think Pickens was good. Leal was good. Robinson could be good for the future. I thought we had a pretty good draft.
Okay. Next, spin the wheel. Is this team likely to have a better free agency than the Steelers?
This is a very interesting one. Houston Texans. And
that's so contextual, right? Because it depends whether.
Well,
it depends whether you say just improvement, right? Because they've got to improve across the board. They might throw Daniel Jones if New York doesn't re-sign him at $40 million a year, according to Daniel Jeremiah. The Houston Texans might throw him $60 million a year or something.
If I could show my screen, right? Well, if I had time, but I can't. But it says here the Houston Texas. So apparently it's a whole state. It's like
no, they're not. Instead of Texans, they're now just little Texas flags.
So they couldn't even this app. Whoever designed this app couldn't even put the N in Texas.
Hey, don't stop the app. I love this segment. All right. Anyone in the live chat, throw us a question for the wheel. But we'll pick the best one as the final one for the wheel. All right, second last one for the wheel. Have you spun the wheel?
No, I haven't. No,
spin it first.
All right.
Don't tell me the team.
All right.
Does this team have a better offense than the Steelers?
Washington football team.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They got some great players in guys like Terry McLaurin and Gibson, and Brian Johnson, but no freaking way. Absolutely not.
And this app is also teetering on the political correctness scale too. They've got a different name there, so they've got to keep up with the times. Actually, I could actually edit the wheel if I wanted to. So, anyways,
you got a question for the wheel? I never let you have a question for the wheel. Ask me a question and spin the wheel.
Okay. Do you think this quarterback for this team is better than our quarterback, which is Kenny Pickett? Right? Do you think that this quarterback is better than? This is a good question. Because we got Dallas Cowboys. Do you think Dak Prescott is better than Kenny Pickett?
No.
That's a good one. No. Can you explain your answer?
I don't think Prescott wins games like Kenny Pickett does. And the NFL is about winning games, not about throwing 500 yards.
You're saying that a guy, he's been in the league 5 or 6 years now, that Kenny's better than him right now as being a rookie going to second year.
If I had to play a game to win the AFC Championship game, I'm picking Kenny Pickett before I'm picking Dak Prescott. Yeah.
Wow. That's some big news right there.
All right. No one put in a question. So this is the last question. You're going to spin the wheel.
Yep.
And the question is, does this team have a better offensive coordinator than
no. Does this team have a better offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
All right. We got the Colts. Who's the Colts offensive coordinator? Didn't they fire someone?
Well, the Colts were terrible. Spin it again. That's a given.
All right.
We'll do 3. We'll do three quick spins, and we've got to close out.
All right. The Colts were the first team. Texans.
No.
All right, next one. I think this wheel's broken, mate.
You got the bottom feeders.
I got to go in there. Oh, Detroit Lions. They were one of the highest offenses too.
They got a better offensive coordinator. The fact they kept him was an absolute steal. He'll be a head. He has another good season. That guy will be a head coach.
They scored like 30 points a game. They just couldn't. They were top 10 in offensive scoring points, and they're the only one who didn't make the playoffs. Do you know that? The only team didn't make it.
They got an offense worse than Pittsburgh and refused to answer.
Yeah.
No, they were, man. Jeffrey Benedict. The Colts have a worse offense.
We should do what's his record? 3-14. So 3 reasons why Jeffrey Benedict is wrong. That'll be next week's show. Can't believe he's last spin
of the show. Will this team have a better record than the 3-14 Steelers, according to Jeffrey Benedict?
Oh, I've gotten the Houston Texans 3 times. The Texans.
I think the Texans will get 4 wins next year or 5 wins. So
to your
you heard it here first, Jeffrey Benedict. The Houston Texans were going to have more wins than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So Jeffrey Benedict right now is saying that whoever their quarterback is, Davis Miller, is a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett.
No, Bryce Young's their quarterback.
That's what he's saying. See how easy it is to make rumors? It's so easy to make rumors. Jeffrey actually hates the team. We know that.
Oh, with that, we're going to leave you all in the US listening live to your Friday afternoons, Friday evenings. If you're listening on the audio side, we hope you like a little bit of a fun and different show from us. Excited to talk to you in the next couple of weeks. Jeffrey Benedict says he makes one joke on the Scobro show and he never lives it down. Tough luck. That's what it is.
It's what Aussies do, man.
You are, and the internet always stays there. As Darkstorm says, the internet never forgets. But with that, as always, Marky Davison.
Go Steelers.